We are continuing our daily updates far longer than I thought we would. But in our last session, I told you that we would take a few days, 3 or 4 days, and talk a bit about prophecy to see if we could understand a bit more about this season that we are living through. I'll tell you, one of my great concerns is that we endure this season and step out of it with a desire to go back to where we were before this started. I think that's a destructive idea. If God has given us a season of discipline, we want to be trained by it and come out of this season with a new response to the Lord, a new way to address our normal routines. And I hope that the prophetic Word of God will help us with that. Prophecy in 3-minute bites, that's a pretty good trick. But I want to go to Matthew 24. It's Jesus' most lengthy prophetic discourse. Of all the Hebrew prophets, Isaiah, Jeremiah, all those that you know so well, Jesus is the greatest of the Hebrew prophets. And in Matthew 24, the disciples ask him 2 questions. What will be the signs of the end of the age and his return? And he gives a whole set of responses to that, and I'm going to just give you one. It's in Matthew 24 and verse 8. As he begins to describe the things, he says that nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. And then he summarizes and said, when you see this happening, it's the beginning of birth pains. Well, a couple of things. A little bit of Greek will help. The word translated there, nation, in Greek is ethnos. It's from which we get the word ethnic. So he isn't talking, I think, in that so much about nation-state conflicts, but ethnic conflicts. And if there's one characteristic of the season we've been living in, it's heightened ethnic conflict, not only within our own culture, but around the world. America's a melting pot. We have been a nation of peoples that have come from all over the world from our beginning until today. And yet we're more polarized, more separated. The tension is higher than it's ever been in my lifetime. We shouldn't be surprised by it. Jesus said it would happen. So one of our challenges is to recognize what Jesus told us would happen, understand the season we're in, and not be frightened by it. The other component of that verse that I think is helpful is he said the beginning of birth pains. Now, my dad was a vet, so I've seen lots of things born, puppies and kittens and calves and colts and some other strange stuff. And birth pains have some consistent characteristics. Once they begin, they're going to continue through to a conclusion until there's a delivery. And once they begin, they're going to increase in frequency and severity until we get to that delivery. And I would submit to you that what we're experiencing is another expression of a birth pain. That's why I think this isn't the only shaking that we will see together. We'll see another, and it will come with a greater frequency than the last episode, and it will be more intense. Not to frighten us. We want to learn the lessons in this season so that we're prepared and more stable for the season ahead. Tomorrow we'll talk a little bit about some of the lessons we can glean from this season. You can speak to that as well. God has not abandoned us. He's preparing us for the return of the King. That's the point of the whole deal. We are getting ready for the return of the King. And Jesus' instructions were not to hang your head in despair or fear, but to lift up your head. He's coming back. So while you've got some spare time and a little extra bandwidth in your life, be sure to join us in our prayers, spend some time in the Word of God, and begin to thank God for what He's doing. The King is coming.